Hello, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Edric Poon and Company, the podcast where anybody can inspire everybody. Now, our next guest for this week is a restaurateur, a health and wellness coach, and one heck of a motivated lady, the founder of Food Rebel and ElikaFit.com. Elika Tasker, welcome to the show. Anyway, let's get straight to it, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So you are a restaurateur, health and wellness coach. I mean, how do you even start with all this? Let's start with Food Rebel then.
Okay, but obviously I had a whole career before Food Rebel. But yes, so Food Rebel, well, let's talk about what does that actually mean. To me, a Food Rebel is somebody that is actually in love with food, passionate about food, excited by food, but rebellious about the idea that the food that you eat has to be bad or has to be bland. So to me, every individual has the ability to be rebellious about food, rebel about the notion, for example, that the limiting beliefs around food, that healthy food is rabbit food, healthy food is boring, healthy food is salad, healthy food doesn't taste good. You know, there's so many opportunities for us to rebel against food. So that's really what Food Rebel was. Now, the restaurant itself, called Kitchen by Food Rebel, because to me, kitchen has always been the best place in the home, was really about how do I show people that if I can run a restaurant, breakfast, lunch, dinners, takeaway, that with all of these philosophies that I have, that it's super capable for them to live this way, eat this way, and also prepare food this way at home. So that was the vision of the business, was really about putting light on the awareness that was needed to create a healthier life, right? So we do that through nutrition. And really the main mission day to day was to improve the customer's health through awareness, education, and exciting healthy food. So how did that look like on the day-to-day? I had 5 principles about all the food that ran through the restaurant, which was, it was 100% dairy-free. Everything was gluten-free apart from bread, and of course there was gluten-free bread available. We had a ban on refined sugar, so nothing in the restaurant, nothing could come in through, be prepared with refined sugar through it. So we call refined sugar white and brown sugar, it's both refined. We had nothing that was allowed in the restaurant that could hold a preservative or artificial ingredient, so chemical, whatever, anything that was artificial. So obviously nothing like MSG, which is very popular in Asia, but anything, any other preservative, like even an artificial preservative that would preserve milk, we wouldn't have, right? So we wouldn't buy any products that would that. And the 5th thing was to source as many ingredients as we could organic. So when you have those 5 principles, essentially what that means is that you're preparing everything from scratch. Because, you know, imagine we had things like burger and chips, but we can't buy tomato ketchup. It has sugar and preservatives inside it. So we have to make our own ketchup. One of the things that makes healthy food more exciting is sauces. So we had a whole range of sambals, a whole range of hummus, you know, all these things. So that was the concept.
I'm so glad I had breakfast already. It's actually making me hungry. No, I mean, I cook a little bit at home as well. So this is something I did want to ask you. I mean, with all of this certification and all that, you also had to become a plant-based certified chef. How do you do that?
I mean, the truth is I didn't have to become plant-based because I'm flexitarian, so I'm not vegan. I eat intuitively. I listen to my body and decide what it needs that day in that moment. But anyone that runs an F&B operation will tell you very fast, you better know all parts of that business, every single part. And like every entrepreneur that starts a business, you always have the disaster story. My disaster story started when my chefs walked out after 3 months and I realized I didn't know my kitchen. So what that led me to was the best thing that could have happened to me was all my ideas that were part of the business creation, trusting myself, trusting what I knew needed to happen, installing that myself without being limited or over delegating to other people to live my vision, right? And then, you know, learning what is the engine to the business, which is the kitchen, I realized that one of the things I wanted to do was to learn it through the mind of the people that were working in kitchens. So I decided I need to train as a chef. Now, cooking had been my whole life. I've cooked at home, prepared food for myself, family, since the age of 9. But it's very different when you're obviously looking at things commercially, right? So I'm a quick learner, so I put myself in the kitchen with a very great chef. So I had a lady that she had worked in numerous restaurants all over the world, and she was just fantastic at kind of just mentoring me, showing me the ropes of how to run the commercial kitchen. And then I went off and I decided to do a plant-based food chef certification, because what I could see was the mainstream kitchen preparation certificates that we had, especially in Singapore, were not showing a different way of treating the food to what was resonating with what my beliefs were around food, in how we prepare, the energy that I want to go into the food, the sourcing of the ingredients that are in there, you know. So to me, the closest to that was to do a raw food chef certification, which raw food just means that in that philosophy, they believe that food should not be cooked above 45 degrees, because that's the point where the nutrients are destroyed. So when you're eating foods below 45 degrees in the preparation or the heating element, then they all still retain all their life nutrients. So a raw food chef's biggest equipment isn't an oven or a pot, it's actually a dehydrator, which allows them to cook, heat things for longer periods of time and maintain their temperature.
That takes. It sounds like it's not fast food. That's for sure. It's gonna take a long time to do that. Hey, at the same time, right? I mean, when did you start out the kitchen? And if, let's say, for example, today I said, "Hey, Elika, I am thinking about opening up, a small F&B setup. What are the steps that I need to take?"
Absolutely. Well, that's what I do now, obviously, and I do F&B consulting as well. So I did it for 5 years. So I opened the doors officially. I mean, it was like December 2014, but officially it was January 2015. You know, what I would say is I spent 9 months doing a business plan in advance of that, which included researching over 20 odd different restaurants within a 2-kilometer radius of my own. Looking into restaurants that already exist within the whole of Singapore that had concepts that were based around organic or whole foods, looking at amount of staff that they had, what their menu looked like, the design, their website, what their mission and vision was of the business. All of these were things that I included in my business planning process. Okay, so there's a lot of what we call competitor analysis, and I come from a business background, so to me that I didn't understand restaurant business, I didn't know that, so I could learn it. But what I did know was the foundations of what it should be to create a business plan. So that's what I did. I did some projections, and I looked at my vision for the business in 5 years and 10 years. So that was before we even opened up. Then there's a design stage, okay? So this is critical, is I didn't do this very well at all. I really relied on the people that I was starting with that had experience that were going to run the kitchen to look at that design stage. It wasn't my forte at all. So we were able to source a really good designer who was used to designing F&B establishments. But I wish I'd spent more time looking at the design, like literally walking in and out the kitchens or the space of the 20 restaurants that I looked at in my competitor analysis, because I missed that bit. So when it came to design, I missed so many basics, like where you visually put the menu when people walk in. That saves so much time in the buying process. We know from huge conglomerates like businesses like Amazon, how, if you can make it easy for the customer to buy, you increase your sales. So this to me was a small thing. I had my big board, the biggest board that I could have, with my mission and vision of the business all over it. And that should have been the menu, right? So there were small mistakes that I made there. So never underestimate the design that creates efficiency for your team and creates enhanced profit. Then from there, of course, every business is as good as the people you hire. So it was about hiring. So I started off with very, very junior, enthusiastic staff. And I think what the downside of that was, they were super enthusiastic, super creative, just young, really inspired individuals that were, they were amazing, but none of them had experience. So essentially then you've got the blind leading the blind. So don't underestimate the ability to have one person that you trust that has experience. And when I say has experience, I don't mean, oh, I worked as a manager under blah, blah, blah for 2 years, then I went to blah, blah, blah for another 2 years. I mean, they set up a business, they ran it, they achieved profit. Very big difference. Everyone will tell you all the different businesses, all the people that worked under, unless you were there watching how they performed, it's just hearsay. So good people. So you need at least, obviously mine was a 40-seater, so I only needed one solid rock in that experience. And then from there, obviously, you know, think about your product and think about who is your audience. So that comes in the analysis, your business creation stage, right? Who is it that you're here to serve? Be very, very clear who is the person that you're after, because the moment that traffic starts coming in the door, you're going to dilute your brand by trying to please everybody, because they're all going to want you to please them and you can't. So if you're very clear on who that person is, then you don't dilute that. So I knew the person. I'd gone so down to this bit I did very well. I went down to even what that person would be called if it was a person. So it was a name, right? So name, what they would age, salary, what they do in their spare time, what their habits and hobbies are. You know, this is the detail that I went into to my typical customer profile. And therefore, it was very easy when you look at the products, because you're looking at the products and you're going, would this person want this? Now, for most business owners, that person is them, right? In which case that's fine. But if it's not you, then you better know who that profile is very well as you know yourself. And so then it becomes, the biggest learn is you don't learn anything until you actually do it. So you better be ready to receive feedback. You better be incentivizing everybody around you to receive feedback and see that as a crucial thing. Even if there's made a mistake, it's like, yeah, we made a mistake. Great, opportunity to learn. So you better celebrate all of that. I didn't do a great job of that either. I was so petrified, so fearful of all the things that could go wrong that in my early days, I just put so much fear into my team. So, you know, this was a lot of mistakes that I made very early on. And you start to realize that fear feeds fear, right? Yeah. So I was always very ambitious in myself and could trust myself, but I was in an environment that I didn't have experience in. So I was learning as I went along, and my life experiences had taught me things to watch out for, but those things in this environment were making me quite fearful, because the restaurant industry has many moving parts, right? So, so through that feedback, you know, your reviews on your website, on Google, on TripAdvisor, you're going to see very fast the areas to improve. And then you're going to have a million things going wrong. You're going to have things breaking, you know, just everything's going to be going wrong around you. So it's about which fire is the biggest to put out. And you're always putting out fires. So I would say that's probably enough for you to get going with.
No, I love the fact that it's just those 5 steps, you know, and it's very, very applicable to not just the restaurant business, but in anything that you're starting out. Exactly. You know, you always start with a vision, right? You definitely need your design thinking about your ergonomics, your economics need to be in there, the people you trust around you. And of course, you've got to know your customer profile. And at the end of the day, I think step number 5, personally, it hits me the hardest. Getting feedback. You got to chuck your ego out the door and just go, look, tell me anything. Because at the end of the day, if you're my customer, you know, I need to know you better. And the only way for me to know you better is to hear everything, you know, all the shit that's got to come out. I got to hear it.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah, don't sugarcoat it.
There's so much ego in, I mean, in the restaurant industry, but in businesses anyway. And you know, as soon as you start owning multiple businesses, you learn something, which is the principles are applicable to all businesses. And every industry will say, oh, but you know, with this and this, of course there are those small things that are niche, but it's about getting the foundation right, because those things are applicable in all scenarios. But I mean, it really, the vision is really about the person that's behind it, because that person, you know, if their mindset is not right, even on any particular day, the influence of that on the business is huge.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're also bringing up this thing about mindset. Now, you've gone into health and wellness coaching as well, apart from the restaurant side of things, in nutrition. So, I mean,
Yeah.
mind and body has always been very important, but that's the body
Mhm.
side. Now, what about the mind, that you are
Yeah.
also developing?
Well, the most important to know there is the mind and body is connected. So we have hormones and chemical transmitters, neurotransmitters we call them as well, that basically send messages from the brain to the gut. So when you say, oh, I've just got that gut instinct, or I just know, or, these are because, we used to say these phrases, but actually science now shows us there is a connection between the mind and the gut. So, what I was doing with the restaurant was feeding people good food that makes healthy bacteria for the gut. But actually, that also feeds the mind, because that means that your gut, that bacteria that is sending all these messages to the brain that's sending messages that have been picked up through receptors all throughout the body, is all connected. So the key thing here is knowing that if you don't have the right mindset, that is going to affect everything you do. So one of my core beliefs is knowing that my thoughts create my beliefs, and my beliefs create my actions. So an example, if I thought that I hold is that meat is the best part of food, then my belief system starts to form around I can't survive without meat, which means my actions are I source only places that I can eat a lot of meat. And this is a prime example how our thoughts create beliefs, and our beliefs create our actions, because beliefs are just thoughts that we've thought multiple times so that they become firm beliefs. So I'm really conscious about what are the beliefs that are being input into my mind. And those beliefs come from people around us, from environments, from influences, from visual stimulation, all different ways. And I'm always watching out for new beliefs that I hold that I didn't realize, because a lot of these are in your subconscious programming, right? And I'm always monitoring what those beliefs are. And if I find that those beliefs are no longer serving me well, so I have two really big ones that I've been working on the last year, which is I'm not good with tech. And another one is I'm not good with finances, So I've been realizing that if those are not serving me well, then those beliefs need changing with new ones. So what do? Well, now I'm doing a financial trading course, and I'm learning how to be a stock trader. It's the most extreme thing I can think of to do, because I have to change that belief system. I am so passionate about it. I love it so much that I can no longer hold on to this belief that I'm not good with finance. Well, what do? I find people, I find the areas that I'm not so good at tech, and I find people within my community that are great at that, and I get them to show me it, and then I get them to show me how to do it for myself, and I don't delegate it again until I feel like I'm competent in it.
Wow, this is fantastic. You're building the foundation, and in itself, it's also leadership by example. If you can do it, somebody else can as well. Then you can hand over the reins.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's
Which
absolutely
is exactly what I
that's
did in the
fantastic.
restaurant. That's why I trained as a chef. I even trained as a barista. I went on my barista academy training course. I
Wow.
did all that because I'm like, okay, here I am with 11 years of business experience. There are some things that I am fantastic at. I had sales experience, I've done consulting, I've done hiring for all the multinational corporations across Singapore, and when I was in the UK, I had all this experience, but I hadn't worked in a restaurant. So I knew that the only way that my chefs would respect me was if I actually picked up a knife and tried to chop properly. Okay. Now that wasn't my strength, to be fair, but the truth was that I was running a kitchen team of 4 chefs, and not one of them had been able to show me that they could run their own kitchen with their own finances, no other investor, no bank loan, no mommy lent me the money, for 5 years. None of them were able to show me that. So at the end of the day, I was always like, okay, I will listen to you because you need to teach me. But then here, this is what I'm offering. But one of the parts of me being able to work with them was also taking my own initiative to learn as much as what they knew, which is why I trained as a chef. That's why I went on and did my barista training course.
Wow. Now, this brings me to a very, very important question as well. You've done so many things over the course of X number
I
of
know.
years. Teach me a little bit more about time management. What's the secret to you managing this? And actually, I mean, dedication aside, what's the
Mm.
secret to time management here?
I believe that it's about knowing every single day what are the 3 things that have to be achieved and committing to that. Because honestly, you know, I live very intuitively. I don't like to be rigid in life because nothing is rigid in nature. In actual, you know, the way that the world is formed, nothing is rigid. So the thing about time management is it comes from a very corporate and left brain philosophy that I've been in that world, and I've been in both worlds, and in F&B where it's like no one even looks at the clock in F&B. So I've seen both, and I do feel like there's a place for both, not too rigid but not so fluid. So but at the end of the day, time management is there because you need to get stuff done. So for me, it's what are the 3 things every day that have to be achieved? Okay. And therefore, within that, I allow myself flexibility. But what's really important to me is health. Because if I'm not able to function optimally, then those things don't get done. You know, if I don't think straight, then I make stupid decisions. You know, if I don't have energy, I can't get things done, right? These are just all, you know, huge impacts of not having good health. If I'm not healthy, then the impact of my relationships, because I'm under stress, and everyone under stress works suboptimally. You work at your worst. Even if people say I work well under stress, I work to pressure, get it, but you're not working optimally under that. You're having to dig something from your reserves, but it's not optimal. So for me, in order to get those 3 things done, I have to be rigid about my morning routine. So from 6 till 9 a.m. every morning, that's my time. So for me to wake up at 6 a.m., majority of the week, there's a little bit of flexibility, but majority. So I have an 80-20 rule for life. 80% of the time I do perfection, 20% whatever. So if I'm waking up at 6 a.m., majority of the time I need to be in bed on time. What does on time mean? It means a few hours after sunset. So we're talking about around 10 o'clock. Now, I also come from the corporate background. I remember boasting about, I don't need much sleep, or I'm a night owl, I'm not a morning person. I've also said all those limiting beliefs, and no one is a morning person if they haven't slept. So it's not about being able to wake up in the morning, it's about getting yourself to bed on time. What I realized that worked for me was everything that you want to do in the evening, you just swap it and you do it in the morning. And the beauty of that is nobody else is doing anything between that time, 6 and 9. So you have less distractions. You have this stillness in the air that is so productive. I mean, now they have those 5 a.m. clubs. I'm not really part of the 5 a.m. club. That to me is a bit too early. But the 6 a.m. is about right, because where I believe it should be is wherever you live, where does the sun rise? What time does the sun rise? What time does the sun set? For me in Singapore, that's about 7 a.m. So that bit before that is that window, that glorious window of time. And you see, as soon as that sun's up at 7, you feel that productivity starting to kick in. But for me, that 6 till 9 a.m. is my me time. It's a long time, 3 hours. I mean, I know I can get that down to an hour, but I'm in a luxury that I've designed my life around having that block of time. So that looks to me like I wake up, the first thing I do is have the biggest glass that I can of warm water with a slice of lemon. So I literally flush out the toxins that have been brewing in my body overnight. Then I go from there into my meditation. And I meditate roughly about 20 minutes. And then I do a movement practice. I could go for a run, I could go for yoga. Sometimes when I go for a run and yoga, I tend to do the run and yoga first, come back and do my meditation. So that bit is flexible. If I'm going to the gym or working out somewhere else, because again, I move intuitively what my body needs on that day, then I will meditate first and then I will go out and do it. And then the rest of the time is taking the time to give myself self-love, nice shower, moisturize, take my time to make myself beautiful, which doesn't take a lot, as you can see, but you know, and then I'm good to go. So if I'm up and I'm on the computer and I'm ready to go at 8 a.m., great. But at least I have that flexibility of 6 till 9 a.m. me time. That helps me with my time management. then I already know what I'm doing for the day, and I've pretty much done probably one of them, because that morning routine is usually one of my essentials for the day. And then I have 2 or 3 things that I absolutely must achieve.
So these 2 or 3 things, I mean, do you set them out to be regular occurrence? So that means meaning the same goal, or are these always those things that you say, okay, today I got to get this shit done?
Yeah, so you have your bigger dream in life, right? So so for me, I put mine around what do I want in my I actually have 10 pillars in total, but anyway, but the major ones are, what do I want in my personal life, and what do I want in my work life, right? So how do you know where you're going if you don't have a roadmap? To me, that is just crazy, right? So it's like, I want to go to Malaysia, but I don't know how to get there. Well, you're not going to Malaysia. So it's the same about life, right? So like, I have the clarity, written down, breakdown, detail of exactly what I want in my personal life. So health, relationships, finances, education, all the major pillars. I also have it for work. So for work, I did it like a business organogram. So the structure of my business and the pillars within that, and the things that I can do within that. And so that's the bigger vision that I review every 3 months, overhaul every 12 months to see how we're tracking. Okay. So that's your kind of January goals. That's the whole review, January. But every 3 months, I'm checking in with how I'm doing that. So that makes it a lot easier, because then, on a day-to-day basis, you're working on what those bigger things are, right? Or the smaller details. So I can decide that every single day. Yeah. Now, I use a system, Asana, to actually write down all of my tasks into major categories for my business. So I have all these big tasks, and these categories, should I say, and then in that subtask. So what I do is I go into my Asana when I log on, and then I look at what are the subtasks for the day. And each of the subtasks has who it's delegated to and what's the date. So it's very easy for me to see at any moment when I log on, what are the 3 big tasks for today.
Very interesting, using asana.com. I think I've seen quite a number of advertisements on YouTube on that one.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah,
it's really a good tool.
You do need a way to organize yourself, right? And so, I mean, look, the thing is with tech, and I've told you I'm overcoming my own limited belief with technology, but tech, it can overtake or it can support you. And we're just so lucky. We're so lucky to live in this modern day with the use of technology to be able to support us to be more efficient.
That's absolutely right. I mean, gone are the days that we need to flip through so many papers. Now everything just comes up as a dashboard. So it's so much easier for us to use. The only thing is, I mean, in all honesty, right, we just gotta get off our asses and just get it done, because even using these project management softwares, right, sometimes it gets overwhelming because you feel lazy. All of a sudden you're not doing it right, and this and that. So once we can get past that, I think that makes a world of a difference. And
anyone to me that's successful is the person that is talking the least and doing the most. Okay, I actually talk a lot. I'm very talkative. Communication skills is one of my strengths. But the truth is I am a doer, right? I get stuff done. Now, why people don't get stuff done, and it's the same in every element that I see in my clients, why they don't eat well, why they don't have a healthy lifestyle, is because the goal that they've set is too big. So again, when I use Asana, you can have the big category, but you can break that down into subtasks. If you can't get stuff done, it's because the goal that you set is not realistic. So we all know about SMART objectives, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. This is a prime example, right? Now, I come from a corporate background, so I have that discipline in me, so that's great. And I know this is a lot harder because I see this in the restaurant industry, that people that don't have that corporate training that gives you really good discipline. But ultimately, if anyone can set a vision for their life, their work, or whatever part of their life, right? And then you can break that down into, so what would that look like this year? Then you can break that down into what would look like that month, this week, and then what would I have to do every single day? And so that every single day could be, I drink water, 2 liters of water. That's specific, that's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's timely. I drink 2 liters of water every day, whereas somebody else could be like, oh, I need to make sure that I stay hydrated. So we have to break things down into small, manageable steps. So when I'm coaching my clients, I'm like, we are going to set goals together, but you set the goal, I hold you accountable. Now, if you don't do it, that means that the goal that we've agreed was not right. It means it was too big for you. So I don't want you to set a goal that's like, oh yeah, I'm going to lose 10 kg. When you're inside, every single part of your subconscious is going, you are not losing 10 kg. I want you to set a goal that's like, I'm going to lose half a kg a month. Because if that is what is realistic for you right now, that's what you've got to do.
I love that. The fact that it's so progressive, then from these small chunks, automatically you feel more confident to take bigger steps and bigger steps and bigger steps, and you'll definitely get there along the way. What would be the next few challenges for you then? Now that you've got all this settled, what is the next phase for you?
I'm 38 and I've had 2 career burnouts because I'm super ambitious, super passionate, super self-motivated and determined. And when I get into something, I just give it all, even at the expense of my own health, which is why I'm in this industry, because I had to figure out how to stay balanced and look after my own health and learn how to have it all. So the next biggest challenge for me is probably a personal one, is to stay balanced between my health, my work and my personal relationships, to maintain that balance and be successful in all of those areas. That's a big balance. And then what else would be ambitious? I mean, I want to be a millionaire. So what that means to me is I want to change the life of 1 million people. So what comes with that is finding the right way for each of those individual 1 million people to meet them where they're at their stage of their journey. I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by being of service and transformation of lives. So I need to find the way to do what I do best, which is to shed their limiting beliefs, to transform them so that they can have super abundance in all areas of their life, starting with health.
Great. So one of the things, speaking of health, right? Give me an example of perhaps a CEO's breakfast. What would you recommend a CEO?
I mean, what I would recommend or what they're having right now?
Well, whichever.
Okay.
For health, for mental.
Yeah, I think that the best food right now for people all my clients that I work with are time-constrained individuals. So they have very similar symptoms: foggy, flabby, and fatigued. Yeah. They're basically lacking energy in some way and are very time short. So for me, the most convenient one that I found is a green smoothie, because in the smoothie, and I have a smoothie guide that I give to my clients, that I do a formula of 1 part greens, 1 part fruit and 1 part liquid, and a booster. Now, why 1 part greens? Greens are the most nutrient-dense food. So whether that be kale, spinach, kailan, doesn't matter. Now, no one wants to taste greens because that's not exactly exciting. So you need the fruit, because the fruit is nature's sugar. So the best one is a banana, especially the ripe ones. So they're sweet, but it could be a mango, it could be, whatever fruit you have that's in season, okay? Berries are also really good because they're anti-aging. Then you need the liquid, and the liquid can be more than just water, right? So it can be coconut water, it can be cooled green tea, cooled ginseng. So green tea is for antioxidants. It's also a natural caffeine source. Ginseng is a superfood and actually an adaptogenic, which basically means it adapts your body to be more flexible and agile. So there are lots of different liquid forms. Coconut water, hydrating, maybe it's somebody that works out a lot, so needs the electrolytes and the magnesium. So there's your liquid, right? So you can see already that we're not just eating here, we're actually building a medicinal pill. Then a booster. Now my boosters are adaptogens. Adaptogens are foods, nutrients that grow in extreme conditions. So because of that, in extreme environments or climates, whatever, they basically, when you consume these foods, they get the body to adapt to extreme conditions, which in the modern day world is we're all suffering from some form of chronic stress. Okay, so the adaptogen foods I love to add in. So that can be anything from cordyceps, tulsi, ashwagandha. There are so many different ones. And I always say to people, find the adaptogen that is from the origin of where you live. because you want your body to adapt to the environment that you're living in. So in South America, they have slightly different adaptogens, like maca, for example, to what Asia has, you know, where Asia has all these amazing mushrooms, reishi, chaga, you know, tulsi grows here, ginseng, you know, we have some amazing ones in Asia, right? So find the booster. So I love adaptogens. I love superfoods. So superfoods are foods that are highly nutrient dense. So things like berries, like our blueberries, blackberries are superfoods. Things like chia seeds are superfoods. You know, even broccoli is a superfood. But at this moment in time, I'm really in love with raw spirulina because it has like 10 times more iron than spinach. It's like the profile count is amazing if you compare it like for like to something like beef. It's full of antioxidants. It's an abundant plant-based source. It's just amazing, is spirulina. It's like one of the most, I think it is the most nutrient-dense green at the moment. It's an algae. Fantastic. Chlorella is another one. There's so many, right? So superfood. So what you do is you go into your body and you go, what do I need? Right? Maybe it's a pick-me-up. Maybe you just had that really bad night's sleep. So what's going to give you that natural energy? Okay, now I need to add my ginseng because I need great cognitive function and I need natural energy. Or maybe it's the cordyceps because I need endurance today because later on at lunchtime we're going for a long run around the lake. You know, whatever it is, you listen to your body and then you adapt to your booster accordingly. So all of that is in one drink. So that's why I love that breakfast for CEOs. Now, you can have all the other things alongside that. I mean, you know, I have recipes where it's like a breakfast cookie, right? So you can cook the breakfast cookies in batch. Or, you know, I love my chia seed puddings, which is just chia seeds, a superfood. I soak them in plant-based melt. I put fruit or nuts on the top. You know, I love overnight oats. For me, I'm not so, even though I'm a raw food chef, I'm much better with warm foods, and I believe most of us in Asia are. So, you know, I like porridges, you know, so that can be a rice porridge. Like, you know, in Chinese, we had traditionally congee. I like quinoa porridge or oat porridges. I like to have warming foods in my body. But before I have my green smoothie, I will always have teas. So I really heat my body's internal system, warm the organs up before I put any cold food in, because the organs do not like in the morning you to put cold food directly on them.
Interesting. Back in the day, we always loved cold milk and cereal.
Yeah, but that's not back in the days. That was the 80s, because that was the marketing from Kellogg's that came in. Back in the day before that, think about what your ancestors were eating. They weren't having those cereals. So it depends how far you go back. And the problem with most of us with diet is we only go back to the generation of our parents. But what we need to do is go back to the generation of our great-grandparents and look at what they were eating as a children and mirror that. Go 2 generations back.
Interesting. Hey, thanks for the freebies. Edric loves freebies. So anyway, we're still on the topic of CEOs, right? So what do you think is most critical for any business owner or business leader in terms of skill and mindset?
To invest in themselves, to know that they are the biggest investment, the best investment that they could ever make. You can run your business, you can train your team, but if you don't invest in yourself, then what you're serving from an empty cup. You need your cup to be so full that it overflows because you have so much energy, so much clarity, so much passion, that overflow goes into people. When you think about the people that you want to be around with, do you want to be around the person that is highly energetic, happy and joyful? Or just sometimes you kind of just feel that their energy is low and something's off, and it makes you feel a bit nervous or anxious about, you know, how are they going to be around you or how they're going to respond to anything that you say, right? So light attracts light. In order to be the light, you need to work on yourself. You need to go into your mind and you need to work with your mind. Your mind is your control system. So you need to know what's in there. In our subconscious brain, it's developed from the age of 0 to 7. So from the age of 0 to 7, children are like empty computers with no hard drive. And then our brain is in what we call theta, which is like a sponge. We absorb everything from our stimulants. And who is that? What is that? The first guardians, our parents. So if they don't ruin us, which most of them do, they do the best that they can, but they all ruin us. Then our parents, our guardians and our teachers do, right? So all of those things that they've been put into our computer between the age of 0 to 7, because we didn't have our own programming, you need to know what they were. And our they serving you well? So these are belief systems. If they're serving you well, great. You know, maybe your parents told you, you can be anything that you want in life. You can achieve you must follow your passion. Great. But I didn't get that. I got, you must work hard, not you must work smart. You know, I got, money doesn't grow on trees.
Yep.
So I was scared of losing everything. You know, so you need to know what are those programming, because like we talked about before, they're controlling everything. You need a strong physical body. This is your frame. Now, I love Marie Forleo. She's one of the people that I watch a lot online when I was setting up my own business. And she always says, if you were the best at what you could do, if you were the best in the world at what you did, how would you come up and serve? So I always think about that when I show up, not to my higher self. I always think, if I was the best in the world at what I do, would I do this? Would I dress this way? Would I look this way? Would I talk this way? Would I think this way? And whenever I catch myself in that moment, I'm like, level up, you know? So it's these sorts of things that we need to think about. So in your physical frame, you know, are you happy with it? You know, and if you're happy with it, great. But if you're not happy with it, hire a coach, you know, hire an expert in that field, invest in yourself. You're not investing in the coach, you're investing in yourself. If you had a Ferrari, right, would you throw rubbish on the back seat? Most people say to me, no, I wouldn't. I'm like, so why put rubbish into your body? If you had a Ferrari, would you put the wrong petrol in it? You drive your Ferrari out the showroom, they say, it only takes this petrol. Would you put the wrong petrol in it? No, right? But you do that to your body. I know, you know, so many of my clients that have pets, and their pets eat better than them. I'm like, so you wouldn't give your pet chocolate? No, it can't take chocolate. Elika, dogs can't eat chocolate. I'm like, really? Why? Why can't dogs eat chocolate? It's bad for them. It makes them sick. And you think that the foods that are made by man and machines, but don't have any nutrient value, like cereal, these breakfast cereals that are like cardboard, that have all these words that you cannot pronounce, like all those breads, read the ingredients labeled, all those words that you can pronounce. They've added in all of these nutrients, added B, blah, 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 added iron, because it's got no nutrient value. They've had to add load in. But you feed yourself that, but you wouldn't feed your dog something that's bad for it. So when we love ourselves, when we understand that this physical frame has got to take us through life, we start thinking about what we put inside it. Mind, body, and soul. I also believe that we need to connect to something that is beyond what we see and what we feel. So whatever that is for you, spirituality or religion, doesn't matter. But I believe that human beings are put on this planet to be of service. And think about it. Who doesn't feel great when they do something for someone else? I haven't met anyone that says, Elika, I never feel good when I do stuff for other people. I've never met anyone that says that. You're always like, I do feel good. So ask yourself, whatever you're doing, your work or life, are you being of service to someone? Are you doing something for somebody else? Yeah. Now you'll know that you feel good when you do, but how can you if you're again coming from an empty cup? So this is why investing in yourself is the number one.
Oh, thanks so much, Elika. Thank you so much, and for all the sharing that you have. One last thing that we do in the podcast as well is always we go through this little rapid fire questionnaire so that we can get to know you really, really quick. All right. So it's just a quick series of questions. Elika, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So one word that you love the most.
Love.
One word that you dislike the most.
Can't.
If you could have a conversation with one person, fictional, non-fictional, dead or alive, who would that be?
Will Smith.
Will Smith. Nice. The Fresh Prince. What do you say to yourself in the mirror every morning?
You're amazing.
And this is not fair that you're in Singapore, but favorite dish to eat?
Any form of curry.
What's your favorite travel spot or the next one that you're going to once borders open up?
Favorite travel spot is Bali. Thinking about going to Cuba.
Nice. Something in the arts that you've always wanted to do, but yet to do so?
In the arts. Oh, I do everything that I like to do there. Okay, I want to move into Kazumba, that dance.
Interesting. What does retirement look like to you?
Doing more of what I love.
And how do you want to be remembered? What's your legacy?
Transforming the lives of 1 million people.
Oh, fantastic. All right, Elika, thank you so much for your time and sharing. Is there anything else that how can everybody reach you?
So the best way to reach out to me is elika.co. So my name is ELIKA.co. So elika.co, you'll be able to get access to my Instagram, which is elika.health, my YouTube, which is Elika, or my Facebook, which is Elika.
All right, everybody, you heard this. Maybe not first, but she's definitely shared quite a lot on this channel. So thanks so much again, Elika, for joining us and sharing so much. We really appreciate your time.
No problem. It's been lovely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so you have a great day, and everybody else out there in YouTube land, thanks so much, and we hope that you've benefited from this. Visit elika.co as soon as you watch this, and don't forget to subscribe too. Okay, bye.
Take care. Bye.